Hello and welcome back to Exeter and Laira. You're watching the November 2019 layout update, and in this video just going to go through and show you exactly what's been done on the layout and on the bench as well. So most of my focus has been around the car park area and just adding various bits of scenic detail in various places. Also just added a few more bits and pieces down to the greenery areas. We'll go into detail into those shortly, but also spent a lot of time doing the brewery scratch building. So the first thing I've done, picked up the Will's modern level crossing kit, and you get everything in the pack that you see on the picture just there. And the barriers themselves, now they only come in lengths up to just about that point there. So as the barriers at St David's span the whole road, I've had to modify these by just adding on that extra inch or so, just to make them so they're long enough to cover the entire road. These have been painted and weathered down, just gone over the bottom of the actual safety guard just with a weather wash. And there is still a lot of work to do in terms of the fencing and stuff that goes all the way around the boxes. I will eventually be fitting all the warning panel lights. Those will be lit up, so I plan to put red lights in those. Going to have no sound because technically once the barriers are down, the sound automatically switches itself off. Also, you can see at the back, just in front of the three little buildings there, I've also got the relocatable equipment building, which is common on most level crossings. Certainly it sits in that position at Exeter and David's. And all I've done with this is just giving it a coat of paint in roughly the same sort of colours as what they are, and just a couple of bits of square plastic card rod. Stuck those bits to the side, giving them a quick coat of orange. Just use a Sharpie pen on those and glue those in position. Again, the door's been given a sort of an orange wash of paint, nothing too heavy. Wanted to make it look a bit sort of worn and faded, and the roof's been weathered, just using a sort of snap-on dry brush method. The rest of the hut itself just been weathered down with some simple weather washes. Nice little simple kit. Just to the entrance of the car park, I've also added a few bits of detail there. So we've got the bollards. These are from Bachmann. You get a pack of 10, and the little salt box at the back is a scale model scenery product. I'm going to take these off eventually and give them a coat of yellow paint and then just re-weather them down. And again, just inside the car park area, you've got the parking ticket area. Again, with a couple of little Bachmann bollards and another salt box just in that area there. I've also painted on the some yellow warning lines as well, though they're not very visible, so they'll probably get redone again. I've also made up this billboard as well. This is just using scale model scenery grey board, which is the 1mm thick stuff, and a bit of plastic card just around the outside edge. The sign itself, or the poster, is from Graph Rail. They do a collection of different eras, typical billboard signs. So I've gone for the early 90s Coke one. There's a possibility I might change the actual board itself, so it's not glued in position, and I might sort of get one that's laser cut. I'm going to have a look at either Graph Rail or Scale Model Sceneries versions, and as I say, might change in the future. I've also completed the walling across here as well, so all the brick piers are now in place, and coping stones are on top. Coping stones are from, again, Scale Model Scenery, come in a laser cut kit, and those are just giving those a quick coat of varnish over the top, and then just use a weathering wash of varnish and powders with a bit of thinners in there to make it more of a easy to use wash, and it's got that kind of green algae effect that you can see over the top. I've also just taken that wash and just wiped it down the actual stone face as well, just to give it more grime. And just in this area here, I've enhanced that as well with some new bushes. These have been made to look like your typical buddleia that grows everywhere. And these bushes themselves, what I did is I picked them up from a seller who's quite active on the exhibition scene, mainly around Ireland, as I'm aware. His company name is G Model Scene, and for all of his products I'll leave a link down in the video description, because if you're not confident in making your own bushes and stuff, his stuff's well worth checking out. And this is just one of the boxes of stuff that I got from him. I specifically wanted to have all of the sort of foliages and stuff to make my own bushes, but whilst I was in his shop I thought I'd grab a box of his ready-made stuff. These are just simple bush tufts in green, and they've got obviously the foliage added to them to make them look like leaves, and quite simple static grasses by the looks of it, and just with the leaves on top. Now what I've done with these is I've scattered them around some of the fence lines at the back of the layout, but I actually trimmed them down so they were a lot smaller, as I didn't want great big bushy sort of areas, rather than just wanting the small spindly bits. And what I've done just to enhance them is use some of Green Scene's purple foliage, just glue the ends of them and sprinkle some of the purple foliage over those just to make them look like buddleias. As I say, do check out his shop, some fantastic products for sale there. Also just along the back of the layout and in between the lines I've added some very small clumps of static grasses. This was just done with just using a cocktail stick with some glue, then going over the whole area with static grasses, 2mm and 4mm. Most of it was the 2mm straw colour with a bit of 4mm summer meadow mixed in, and these have been just enhanced by using the Woodland Scenics red hues. Now these were quite typical, growing all the way around St David's on all the track work, is these sort of red looking weeds. And again, just along the fence line at the back, you've got some of the buddleias growing as well. So now I'm going to turn my attention to this little scratch build that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks. Most evenings spent building this. So what I'm going to do, just show you through some of the stuff that's been done and how it's constructed. So if I take a look underneath, I've just used the scale model scenery grey board again and built up a skeleton frame. Now this was cladded with a plastic card which I picked up from Hatton's. Can't remember the actual name of the manufacturer who makes that plastic card, but it comes in white sheets, so it needs painting. To paint that, all I've done is simply used plastic coat red primer, red oxide primer as the first coat, and then just using Paul Chapman from Galgorm Hall's method of painting brickwork, just using the enamel paints in those two colours. The mortar joints, I've just used the Vallejo pigments, which was, I think it was this sienna colour. They've been mixed up with a Vallejo acrylic varnish and just painted over the surface before wiping away the excess. The roof is made by using Will's kits again, using their pan tiles and the ridge tiles, and still a little bit of work just to touch up a little bit of sort of modeller's putty and some of the ridge tiles to close the gaps up. And again, the finish on those was given a coat of brown enamel paint before doing a misting of 3 colours, which is a industrial grey, the red oxide primer and some white. The misting for that was done if you stand back a couple of foot away from the actual model and then just mist over the roof lightly, and you end up with that sort of multi-tones that you see typically on ridge tiles and roof tiles as well. All the windows and doors on here are again from Will's kits, and they've just been installed. Bit of plastic sheeting behind them, and the doors all the way around, they've just been painted, and just used the Vallejo chipping medium on those so I can chip back to make them a little bit more worn. Now inside the building, I don't plan to put any interiors in there, but what I have done, as you can see, I've picked up the scale model scenery blinds, just fitted those inside the windows so it just obscures the view that there's obviously nothing inside. Again, it's amazing stuff what scale model scenery does. I mean, these are so finely laser cut, it's incredible. And again, from scale model scenery, you just see in there, I've got the their new louver doors, or the sort of roller shutters, and again just on the side, another one just there as well. So the building itself is just really now ready for weathering down, and just the finishing touches, things like fascia boards and all the rainwater goods, gutters, downpipes. So I'll hopefully probably cover the weathering of this in a separate video. And this is where the actual building sits, and it currently is the home of Exeter Brewery, who took over the land in 2012. What it was used for before then, I've got no idea, and in all honesty I'm not going to go down the lengths of researching what it was used for. Sometimes it can take the fun out of the hobby if you start getting too involved in what everything looked like and what it was used for. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it all to you to decide on what you'd like me to do with this particular patch of land and the building. So if you want to pop down into the comment section and give me some ideas of what you'd like to see on this patch of land, whether that be something like a scrapyard or whatever, or distribution centre. Also give it a company name as well. So for example, you could have Scrappy Scrapyard, and could be based on a scrapyard. So it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on what you think would be good there. And what I'll do is once I've made a decision on which one I think I quite like the sound of, I'll probably do a video on this whole little scene there being built up, and I'll announce which one I liked, and possibly put a name somewhere on the building for the company. Now I'm also just going to give a channel mention as well. I do agree with what Richard Hughes over at St Michael's Hill says. You know, a lot of the smaller channels don't get mentioned enough by some of us YouTubers who are obviously a bit more higher up in terms of subscribers. He's also doing this on the basis of a competition as well, but again, as I say, I think it's irrelevant whether you're running a competition anyway. It's always good to mention some of the smaller channels, as I can assure that all of us were there once. We all had that low number of subscribers, and we wanted to get our stuff and our content out there so everyone could see what we model. So I'm just going to give a mention to a channel which I've been following recently with a bit of interest. His style and methods of some of the stuff he's got coming up is quite interesting, and that channel is Alex Hill. I'm not quite sure of his layout name. but his channel name is Alex Hill, and so far I've seen some great content from him and some interesting stuff, some useful sort of videos that are going out. So if the link for that's not up on the screen, it certainly will be down in the video description. So pop over to Alex's channel and don't forget to just hit subscribe and also hit that bell as well. Also as well, I will be at the Worley show this year. I will be there on the Sunday, so if you recognise me, do pop over, say hello for a chat. It's always good to meet the people who follow the channel, and hopefully it should be a good show, so looking forward to definitely attending that one this year. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to wrap the video up now, and I'll be back, as I always say, with another video fairly soon. Got plenty in the pipeline. A lot more weathering ones are coming up, and hopefully can now start making a start on this area just here, which is the housing scene up on an embankment which overlooks all this area, and that will be the last video that will wrap up this North End scenic area. So as always, thanks for watching, and if you've got any comments or questions, please do pop them down in the comments section, and don't forget to hit the like button. Cheers for watching.